What's up guys, YSC here and welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today we just got some breaking news about a new Fragment Fusion event starting Friday, September 9th to get this Skinwalker hog in Mighty Uuko. He looks really cool. Let me know what you think about his aesthetics, but I like it. And we finally got ourselves a Skinwalker Fusion champion to help people out in the faction wars. So that's a plus from me. But is the kit going to replicate his art style here? So, as we know, he is a legendary champion, Force Affinity, and he is support. And let's break down his kit. So, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of applying a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. So, an AoE drop attack, really solid for the Hydra boss, waves in general, the Doom Tower. And in terms of book values, I'm going to be guessing maybe... I'm going to say a 75%. I'm not 100% on that, but that's kind of judging off past champions that we've seen. But relatively nice A1 there, or should I say really nice, because decreased attack is one of the most crucial debuffs in this game for damage mitigation. In the A2 with Uukos Fury, on a 4-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance, I'm going to guess 100% chance once booked, to remove 2 random buffs from the target. Alright, so places a block buff debuff and a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns on the targets that have no buffs after the attack. Alright, so I'm trying to read this properly because sometimes I jump the gun a little bit, so I just want to make sure that I'm saying things properly here. So attacking all enemies 2 times could be really strong, especially in War Master Masteries. And I don't know what I think about this whole... I like the stripping of the buffs, the 2 random buffs, potentially aimed at the Hydra from first glance. But I really wish that the block buffs was in that as well. But at the same time, I can imagine in the Hydra, there's some scenarios where the Head of Mischief steals your block debuffs from maybe a Duchess. And being able to strip the 2 buffs and then place the block buffs could have its place in the game, in my opinion, because there's plenty of times where I'm trying to full auto normal or the hard Hydra boss, and the Uuko is kind of placing that block buffs anyway, even though there's a block debuffs up. So I like the play on it. It could be really interesting, and I don't really want to kick it down as of yet. But also applies a decreased accuracy, which is huge, and maybe even for the Iron Twins Fortress, where resistance is a huge playing field. So depending on the cooldowns, if it goes down to a 3-turn, I can see this being really useful. On a 4-turn, maybe you have to put some reflex gear on him or something like that. But we have to wait and see on that behalf because we have no confirmation in terms of books as of now. But let me know what you think about this A2 in the comment section. On Uuko's Mercy, I like the way that they just put all of his names in all of his abilities. Really creative. So Uuko's Mercy, on a 6-turn cooldown, revives all dead allies with 40% HP, then places a block damage buff on them for 1 turn. Okay, so you can't place a block damage unless they're revived, which is okay, I guess. I was thinking maybe a new block damage champion would have been really cool, but it seems to be only if they are revived. And also places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, and will place the increased speed buff even if there are no dead allies. I can't recall champions that have this, but it's kind of, you can even kind of relate this to an Uuko where they have that cleanse or something on the A3 ability, but that's also her revive ability if all allies are dead. And the increased speed is huge, but at the same time, if you've got, let's just say they placed the increased speed 2 turns ago, and this is on a 4-turn cooldown hypothetically once booked, then you have to wait all those cooldowns to get the revive off. And I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of the clash of abilities there. Having 2 really crucial things in one kit doesn't... I don't know. Am I being kind of too critical here? Let me know what you think about this. But for me, reviving is really strong. And if this is on a 4-turn cooldown once booked, we do want to place that increased speed consistently. And how often are you going to be dying? Obviously, when you start getting into the Hydra boss and people start dying and you want to still place that increased speed buff, it's just kind of too much clashing there for me, I'd say. But in terms of ability, revive and increased speed are both really crucial things. And the block damage upon reviving is actually really, really nice. And if you like to manual your Hydra boss runs, or any other place that you're taking this, then yes, I think that can be really, really impactful, because block damage will allow your other champions to have other healers to heal them back up and get yourself back into those battles. Yeah. So overall here, the kit seems really interesting is what I'd say. I think the main thing comes from the decreased attack on the A1, really, really solid. The 2-time hitter on the A2 with the stripping of buffs, block buffs and accuracy. And then the reviving on the A3 with the increased speed. One thing I do notice is this is all AoE abilities with the first and the second skills, so could make him a good candidate for maybe taunting sets to lock off that Head of Decay or something like that. It's a nice kit. I'm not going to say he's trash, and in terms of faction wars, I think this has got a lot of utility for the players really struggling in that realm. But let's not dismiss the passive here with Totem Warden, which doesn't seem to have a cooldown, so could have a ultimate Death Knight effect potentially. And has a 50% chance of stealing one random buff from any enemy each time they receive a buff. Any stolen buffs become protected. Wow. Wow. Okay, so I'm not sure if this will get booked up to maybe a 75% chance, or if it's just going to stay flatline 50%. And as you guys know, Raid is a game of RNG, so I wouldn't be surprised if it stays at 50%. But that's still really impactful, because each time an enemy receives a buff, any stolen buffs become protected. So could this be a counter to Stone Skin, depending how they class as receive a buff? Because at the start of the round, you kind of see that buff go up, right, with the animation. So maybe like a play on that, or just if people are putting on killable buffs on themselves or block damage. I think we can have a lot of fun with this passive from first glance anyway. I'm not sure how impactful this is going to be, but it's interesting. He's an interesting champion, and I like interesting champions, and he looks really fun at the very least. Yeah, loads of things in this kit to kind of break down here, but also one thing that really stands out is increase allied speed in all battles by 20%. All battles is huge, guys. If you think about mid-game arena, you think about the Hydra boss, Doom Tower, very, very versatile in where you could take this. So yeah, my kind of overall standpoint on this after reading the kit for the first time, I'm going to say that he's a good champion, and I think he's really worth going for as a fusion. Especially that it's a fragment one, which is usually more easier to attain due to not having to farm a bunch of champions and rank 4ing and 5ing a bunch of champions as well. And all of the ascensions from farming the keeps in the dungeons. I think he's a must go for fusion in my opinion. But if you disagree with that, definitely let me know. But there's loads of things in this kit that is a plus, then a down, right? And he looks really cool as well, and he is a Skinwalker champion. But what I do want to talk about really briefly is what Polarium said. So Mighty Uuko is an excellent support champion from Skinwalkers. Yep, you heard me. Because they know that people want Skinwalkers. He'll be helpful in both PvP and PvE content, leaning more towards the latter. But let Uuko's mighty skills talk for himself. His A1 is an AoE attack, we know that. With the help of the A2, attacks all enemies twice. And we kind of broke that down as well. No need to repeat it. And revives all dead allies, and the passive skill. Alright, so I thought they'll give a little backstory there, but they kind of didn't. Usually they kind of like to say where they feel like it'll be most useful. But hopefully I can kind of say where I felt it was useful, in my opinion. So yeah, that is the Mighty Uuko, guys, coming out on Friday 9th. And I do have... It's doing that thing again like it did with Arix. And I do have 3 Ancient Shards, and there is a guaranteed event for Godfred Breakdown. So I'm going to summon my shards and briefly talk about this champion as well. So, attacks one enemy 2 times, a chance to place a drop defense debuff for 2 turns, and the second hit has a chance of placing that provoke debuff. So really, 2 crucial things here. No buffing extra chances, just damage. But these are 2 really crucial debuffs for many places in the game. We then have an AoE stun on 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown, which is a really impactful CC ability. Then increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. Then removes any drop defense and weaken debuffs from all allies. So we got a little cleanse there on a 3-turn cooldown on specific buffs. Or debuffs, should I say. That's relatively nice, I guess. But yeah, actually, obviously we'd like a full out cleanse. But drop defense and weaken does mitigate your team. And I see that this champion is kind of trying to tank your team, right? He just looks like a beast. And in terms of CCs and the other stuff, he's a relatively nice champion here. And the passive effect, whenever an ally is attacked while under a block damage buff placed by this champion, has a 100% chance once booked of applying a stun debuff to the attacker. Okay, and if an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, blocks the incoming damage and places a block damage buff on them for 1 turn on a 4-turn cooldown. Very similar to maybe a Godseeker Neri or a Salash Survivor with the fatal hits. I don't know, I feel like it's a bit of a kick in the teeth because I seen Tyraku did a really video about breaking this down, and he was in the bracket for the Theodore events. And people that was going all out in their brackets to chase a Godfred can now get him as a guaranteed champion in the most best event in the game, which is 2x Ancients. So they kind of maybe have had to summon more shards than they had to, when they could have just waited a month and got him for free if they had 140 Ancients. So yeah, that side kind of a down. But let's see if we can get a legendary champion here. So we've got Tashada, 2 more Ancients to go. Hopefully we can get a legendary Harvester, and the final one, sorry, that is a Spirit Host. Another rare champion. So yeah, that is going to be all for the video, guys. If you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on the mighty Uuko, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.